Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Chatham Orpheum Theater, kind of. I'm Executive Director Kevin McLain, and this is the very first edition of the Hungry Traveler series at home, kind of. So today we're with our founding series director, Carol Yindra. Welcome, Carol.
Thank you. I'm here. Yes.
Excellent. How are you feeling?
Good. I'm a little tired of being in the house, but it's all for a good reason.
It's all for a good reason. You're wearing a mask when you go out? Everybody's safe?
Oh, definitely, and I don't go out very often. You know, I have these children that say you have to stay in.
Yeah, I hear you. Me too. I'm trying to stay in as
yes.
much as possible and stay out of everyone's way, basically.
Right.
For a lot of people who are probably first joining us and don't understand what the Hungry Traveler series is or how it was created, why don't you just fill us in real quickly on how we started this whole thing?
Well, I started doing films for the library, you know, films they had in the library. And why? I used to do them in Orleans, and since I live in Chatham, I started doing these films in Chatham. And back in, 2014, I guess, I got interested in documentaries. And the audience was growing, and I said, I want to look at documentaries instead of films, so let's do documentaries. So how did it happen, Kevin, that we ended up in the Orpheum?
Well, I'll tell you how it happened. One day, you showed up in my lobby, and you said, I've got an idea. I'm showing these documentary films at the library, and it's great, and we're getting a good but small audience. And I think the idea was, how about we show these films at the theater and maybe in a theatrical environment and the whole process, and we have coffee and pastries, and people would come in. It might encourage more people to come.
Yes, and I think it was morning, which was a good time for you to film them.
Yep, we were doing them at 10 o'clock in the morning, which seemed to work with the audience that we were going after. And I thought it was a great idea, always looking for other community events to do at the Orpheum. And so I thought it was perfect. And, when someone shows up and says, I want to do all the work and I want to show movies, okay, no problem, right? So then we did, I think, for the first
we showed 2 years, we did
just basic
documentaries, yes.
Right.
And the crowd grew. We did some unusual local things, no cost for these films. They were always people who wanted their film shown for good causes.
Yep.
And the crowd grew.
Yeah, and people were really, the feedback was great, and people were really interested in it, and you do an intro, and I do an intro, and we really developed, I thought, an excellent rapport with the audience, and they kept looking at us like, okay, well, now what are you going to do? What are you going to do now? What are you going to do next year?
We're running out of these little local films. Right?
And I remember you and I sitting at a table going, oh, what are we going to do next year? I don't know. And we look around, and we were talking about food and how the Orpheum does a lot of special events and a lot of special meetings and things of that nature. And we have found over the last 7.5 years that when you pair food with an event, people love it even more. And I think at that point, we kind of said, hey, why don't we do some food and wine documentaries and then pair them with food or wine?
Yes.
And I think that's kind of how it came about.
How it got started.
Yeah.
And why it was called the Hungry Traveler. I had a friend who used to be in promotional things, and I said, what would you name something like this? And I came across the list the other day. He gave me about 20 different names, and on that was a Hungry Traveler. I said, I like that.
It's the perfect name. It was the perfect name because I think over the course of the last few years, a lot of our films and our documentaries have been travel documentaries, which I think is a wonderful way of learning about not only food, but the region it comes from. And we've done so many of them.
Yeah, so we've done so many, and we followed that theme of things from around the world. A few from the States, and the rest of them from traveling. So we kept that theme in mind, and it grew. And
it grew, and so as we always try to do, we always try to involve other members of the community, other businesses. As a nonprofit, our role is to be a part of the whole community and to try to get everybody in the community to participate. So I think the idea was let's see if we can get local restaurants to make the food. So if you do a documentary, we did a documentary on sushi, one of our favorite ones.
Oh my gosh, it was amazing.
Sushi. And we had Bluefins come down and do a sushi rolling demonstration, and then give us a whole buffet of sushi, which was
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yes.
And they did a great job. And I think it was, it's a great partnership, because it really, at that time in May when we do these, I think it's excellent to see what's open, and that's your audience. And so I think the restaurants have been phenomenal. Chatham Bars Inn has done it. We've just had so many.
Many. We've done what, about, I can't remember how many films it's this will, well, that we don't have the fourth one yet because we haven't done it, but we did 3 years, 5 films, so that's 15 films.
Yeah.
And we had the local community participating, which was wonderful, and they liked it. They loved it.
And yeah, absolutely. Just one quick funny story about that. I think it was in our first year or second year, we did a documentary called A Year in Burgundy. And we had our good friend Joe Carr of Joe Carr Wines come.
That is a funny story.
And Joe Carr, if you've never seen him, and I've recommended him to other businesses and organizations in town to give talks, because he's so great. He had everyone mesmerized with his story, and which was phenomenal. And then we went out, and he just did a whole wine tasting for it. It was unbelievable.
Unbelievable. I mean, these weren't little wine glasses. Right?
No, they were full. No, it was
difficult. People didn't want to leave. And the funny thing about it is I had never had Josh wine. And I decided, well, because he supported this, I'm going down to Luke's and I'm going to get some Josh Wayne. And when I got down there, I don't know, was that night or the next day, and I asked for Josh Wayne, he said, I don't understand it. We are all sold out. He said, everybody's been coming down and buying Josh Wine because they had so much fun at this film. The film was lovely, and they sold out. I said, I think I know why.
Yep, and they were sold out of Josh Wine in every store in Chatham.
Yes.
And not only that, but they knew when people would come in to buy the wine, they'd talk about Joe, and they knew all about him and stuff.
Yes, yes. He lived in Dennis. I don't know if he still lives there, but he lived in Dennis and traveled to the West Coast for.
But I think that shows the impact of something like this can have on a community, and in many ways. So over the course of the last, like you said, 3 years of the Hungry Traveler specifically, we've done about 15 of these. Over the course of the next month, we're going to be taking a look at about 4 of them that we've done that are kind of special, and we're going to kind of highlight them as ones that we've done that really worked very well, and we had great response with the audience on. So we'll be looking at those over the course of the next month. We're going to be doing Supra, which is our first one that we're going to be doing. We're going to be doing knife skills, and we're going to be doing In Search of Israeli Cuisine, and then we're going to wrap it up with one of my favorite Cuban food stories. And a lot of these are fun.
Black beans in my rice.
A lot of these are fun because over time we ended up actually being participants and making some of these recipes ourselves,
and often directors Skyped in and talked about it, which was very interesting.
Yeah.
And we had Dr. Raphael come and speak about Cuban food stories.
Yes, that's right. He gave us the tour
wonderful.
About all over Cuba and explained where different areas were. Yeah, that was phenomenal. So we're going to get to those over the course of the next month. So we hope everyone joins us for those, and we'll be releasing them every week. And we're going to do an intro for each one. And we're going to tell little stories about the event itself. We're going to show pictures. And if we have any video, we'll show that as well. And then any new information that we have on these films or updated recipes or where you can watch the films, we're going to let everyone know. So that's going to be coming up over the next month.
Yes.
So, but our first one that we're doing is Supra.
Yes.
So
that's the one I worked very hard for.
This is one, I think this is one of your favorite ones. I think you worked the hardest on getting this one.
Yes.
And I think this is a great intro for you because it shows how dedicated you are and how much you go through to get these films. I don't think
Yes.
people realize.
They don't realize,
People
but
don't
it's,
realize, they think you
yes,
just,
yes.
we're just, ordering them online.
Right, right,
But
right.
that's not the case at all. And so I think,
No.
especially for Supra, why don't you explain all of the things you had to go through to
Yes.
get us this film?
Well, I don't remember where I read about Supra, and it had not been shown in this country yet. And so I did read that it was coming in 2017 to Dock NYC, so into New York, which I didn't know anything about. And it runs for about 10 days, I think. And the amazing thing is they show documentaries all day long, starting at 8 and ending up at midnight in 7 different theaters.
It's one of the biggest documentary film
Yes,
festivals in the country.
yes, if not
The
all
big,
over the world.
right.
Yes, I think it is. And I read that they were opening there. So, of course, I decide I'm going to New York. And I have a daughter on the island, and she came in to meet me. And since I don't drive, a friend went down with me. And we end up in this little line in this little theater, but we also saw many others because, we're down there for 2 nights and it goes on all day long. And I finally get to Supra, and, it's a small little theater. I mean, this is the world probably, or the United States opening of this film. And we get in line, and of course we see people that we had met in other lines because, they probably chose the
Just go
same
from
ones
film
we
to
did.
film. Yeah, like
Yes,
a
yes.
Sundance. You just kind of go from theater to theater.
Right. So it opened, and Thomas Morgan was the director, and the filmmaker was there, and producer. And one of the producers was coming, and it was Susan Sarandon. But this was a little tiny theater, right? They showed this film, and I thought, I have to get this. I have to do this. So afterwards, and I hope we have that video, which I think we do, of on the book, on the memory book that we're doing, because it was them talking at the end. And it was Susan Sarandon and Thomas Morgan and the filmmaker, and I don't remember all the names. So of course, all the other filmmakers were coming up afterwards to congratulate him. And of course, I go up and I decide I'm getting this film. So I told them, we want to show this film in Chatham, Massachusetts. And of course, they had just started, and they're looking at big film festivals. And they said, well, we'd be happy to do that, but we're only going to film festivals.
And
Not
that's
to
how
all the
the
theaters.
Hungry Traveler Film Festival began.
So I went back and I
all of
said,
a sudden, we're a film
what do
festival,
you
right?
have to, yeah, what do you have to do to be a film festival? He said, well, we're just going to call it the Hungry Traveler Film Festival.
Call ourselves a film festival. Wow.
Yes. So I worked on it, and we did get the film, and it's a marvelous film and a wonderful story. And it's just, if you haven't seen it, there will be a link to where you can find it on their website. You can actually order it as gifts for people if you've already seen it. And it is something that everyone should see. In fact, there was a group of women from Orleans who did this fabulous dinner party, and everyone who came had to make a dish from the Supra cookbook that raised funds because it was about a woman who was in a refugee camp since she was born. And this was to raise money for the children's camp within the refugee camp, the books. And we raised
some money, yeah. And I think, for people who don't know about the film Supra, that's exactly what it is. It's about this woman in a refugee camp. I mean, these people are born and raised in these refugee camps, and they have no access to outside food and all of this. And she wanted to start her own food truck, and in that environment, that's impossible, literally impossible. And yet somehow she was able to.
what she went through, and you'll see that on information that you're going to get when you log on to the website, that
Yeah.
how she accomplished this. And it was just amazing.
Yeah,
what
I mean,
these women
and then with the
accomplished.
cookbook, they use the money for the sale of the cookbook to fund the whole program there.
The children's school within the refugee camp, because these kids did not leave the refugee camp.
Right.
They were very restricted. So it's just a great film.
It's a great film and a
In
great
my
cookbook.
memory of being in New York and going to all these theaters that they go on all day long, they're not fancy, they're just little local theaters. And so I've tried to go every year.
But that's how you can find unique films like this. You can't just
Yes.
find them, Googling things. You really have to go, and that's why I give you a lot of credit for a lot of
Well,
for the films we
it's,
have, because you go
yes.
literally out and go find them, and
Well, and some of
we
the other
wouldn't be able to get
festivals, I said I would love to go. There's a couple up in, Canada and Nova Scotia, and I think, well, maybe next year I'll go to Nova Scotia
yeah, see,
for
that's
the
great.
film festival in Nova Scotia. But I'm sure that if you haven't seen it already, you're just going to love this film. And if you look on the website, there'll be lots of information.
Lots of information. And for those who are interested in watching the film and or buying the cookbook, both are available on Amazon Prime. So you can rent the movie on Amazon Prime. So
I
if you have
don't
a,
know if it's,
yes, I went
is it
online. I
up?
have
You went
Amazon
online?
Prime, so
Oh,
I
you're
found it.
ahead of me,
Yeah,
right? Right.
you can rent the movie on Amazon Prime, and then you can purchase the book on Amazon as well.
Yes,
So
yes.
all the money from the sale of the cookbooks goes towards the camp.
The camp, yes. Yeah, it's a great film.
So we
And
hope everybody goes out and takes a
yes,
look at the film and enjoys the film, and take a
and
look at all the supplemental material that's on our website as well.
yes,
Um,
good.
and I guess Carol and I will see you back here next week, right?
Good. What are we doing? No, knife skills.
Knife
That's
skill.
another great
That'll be
one.
another fun one. Absolutely. Excellent.
That there's lots of follow-up stories about knife skills.
Lots of good stuff about knife skills, and we will get
Yes.
to all of that next week. So we hope that you have
Yes.
an opportunity to come back and enjoy and see us and talk to us. And next week we will be back. All right.
Yes. Okay.
Excellent. Well, thank you
All right.
so much. Stay safe, stay home,
Yes.
and we'll talk to you soon.